Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. If you're new here, my name is Precious. Thanks so much for spending some of your day with me. Today I'm bringing you a mid-month reading check-in. This is something new I want to try for the new year. I don't typically do weekly reading wrap-ups. I wish I could, just don't read quickly enough, but let's compromise for the mid-month point, shall we? So the first book I read and finished was The Wolf and the Whale by Jordana Max Brodsky. I really enjoyed this epic historical fantasy. There's high stakes involved. It's about survival in the dangerous Arctic tundra where resources and food are scarce and the landscape is unforgiving. It's a really fascinating socio-cultural look at Inuit and Norse society, their language, their religion and mythology, and those are all topics that have always fascinated me. And I just loved our protagonist, Omat, who is a fierce individual and hunter, and they are unique in that they possess a dual spirit, one of a white wolf that revives them as an infant, and that of their deceased father, who was a powerful shaman. So as a result, they've been raised and grown up thinking that they're a boy. They've never had to do any chores, which are reserved for the women. They always accompany the men on hunts for food, and this does cause a problem in that in Inuit society there are very strict gender roles that everyone must abide by, and it's seen as taboo for women to accompany the men while hunting. Once the truth is found out about Omat's true gender, their life starts to unravel and they're forced against their will to endeavor on a tumultuous journey without the aid and support of their family. See what happens as Omat fights for survival and their efforts to reunite with their loved ones. And Omat comes in contact with Norsemen, particularly Vikings, who've brought their own goddesses and gods of worship and who are trying to fend off Christianity. And it's just very exciting and atmospheric. It hasn't really been that cold here, and I love seasonal reading, and so the descriptions really transported me to the freezing Arctic tundra. It's rich in history and culture, which again I've just loved reading about. I just soaked it all up, and I do want to mention that it's important to look up trigger warnings in this, as it does get very dark and bleak because it contains scenes that may be distressing to you. So overall, though, it is a compelling read. It's about the resilience of the human spirit and coming of age, which are some of my favorite stories to read. Another story I finished was Virginia Sorensen's Newbery Award-winning story, Miracles on Maple Hill. It's been so many decades since I've read this. This is a childhood favorite, and I decided to reread it for the first time after seeing it mentioned on Celeste's channel, A Reader's Almanac. It's such a heartwarming story. It's about the healing ways of community and Mother Nature and just how vital connection is to us all. And you meet Marley, who is 10 years old, and her family. Her father is a POW. He's just returned home from war, and he's really struggling at home. He's dealing with PTSD, and Marley's mom decides to take them all up to her family's maple farm, and as she believes that working outdoors and with other men on the farm will start and help her husband to heal. And we see Marley's interactions with the really lovely people on Maple Hill, who are just as delightful as I remember, and some mischief that she and her older brother Joe get into. I loved rereading this, so thank you, Celeste, for reminding me about this gem. I am listening to a few audiobooks as well. I'm in the middle of Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus by Dusty Bowling, who is a new to me author. I'm reading this one for the Diversity Book Bingo Challenge. This book meets both prompts of neurodivergence and disability. The book has just been bringing so much joy to listen to. The plot and all the characters are just a delight. You meet a 13-year-old girl named Avon who is very determined and stubborn. I just love her spirit, and she simply refuses to give in to the ideas and perceptions that society and her peers have labeled her as. She's often called derogatory names because she was born without arms, and she reacts like every other teenager would when she finds out that her family are going to be moving to a different state, and all her fears and anxieties are completely relatable when it comes to sudden change and what that brings. But it doesn't take her long to find kindred spirits and new friends who are just delightful. Yeah, and it's just so fun. Like, they volunteer. One of her new friends has Tourette's syndrome, and they decide to volunteer with other peers who are dealing with the same. It's so delightful. I'm really enjoying it. Another book I'm listening to is The Sunflower Boys by Sam Walkman. He narrates this as well, and this is set in contemporary times during the pandemic, just before the more recent invasion of Russia in the Ukraine. And you meet two teenage boys, Artem and Victor, who happen to be best friends, and the sunflower farm they work on. So far, I've just been introduced to Artem's family. He lives with his mom and younger brother. They're separated from their father, who is living in the States and who's trying to get all the proper documents and paperwork all figured out so he can reunite with his family and bring them to the States for better opportunities. And this is another one that I think will be very hard-hitting and moving. Other books I've been dipping in and out of include Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery. This is also another one that's just bringing so much joy. I can't believe I've never read this before. Yeah, I think everyone knows who Anne is. I won't say much about this other than it's maintaining a fine balance between some difficult reads this month, such as this one, The Book of Disappearance by Abtisa Mazem. Writing has changed, so I had to move the camera a little bit, but as I was saying, I've been reading The Book of Disappearance. This is a quite profound read and deeply unsettling, as Azem's descriptions are of Jaffa, the ancient port city in Tel Aviv, and its violent and tumultuous history. It's just so horrific because this is actually happened and is happening. And so it's it may be a work of fiction, but it's embedded in truth. So it deals with really painful topical issues such as genocide and violence and war, and is immediately drawn into the lives of Azem's characters, and am emotionally attached to them. The ones I've met so far, that is, such as Allah. You get flashbacks of memories of his for each character, actually. And in Allah's case, it's of his childhood memories, the interactions he's had with his grandma who's who's recently passed. And you see, understandably, you see how she frequently hesitates to answer all of his questions that he has about her life, and of all the connections to people who've left her in the country, and who've lost their lives and who've died. And just, I think anyone can relate to that when it comes to really painful memories. We are reserved about sharing them because we just don't want to relive them. And these characters, like I said, are so relatable. It's very, so far, it's quite an emotional read, but a compulsive read, and it's beautifully told. So those are some books that are keeping me company these days. I do have a few others that I'm hoping to get to this week, such as An African in Greenland by Tete Michelle Kamasi. My hold from the library still hasn't gone in yet. And that's for the Read the Globe Challenge. Another challenge I'm participating in, and that's Ben's Read Good Challenge. And for January, his prompt is a food-related title. And so I've shopped my shelves, and these are the ones I've found. I have The Clementine Complex by Bob Mortimer, who is one of my favorite people. He is a hilarious English comedian, and such a such a delightful storyteller. This is his new cozy mystery series, and yeah, this is one. This is why I kind of want to go into blind, but I'll just share with you what it says on the back. Gary Thorne goes for a pint with a work acquaintance named Brendan. When Brendan leaves early, Gary meets a girl in the pub. He doesn't catch her name, but falls for her anyway. After she suddenly disappears without saying goodbye, all Gary has to remember her by is the book she was reading, The Clementine Complex. I gave this one to Carol for Yola Bokaflod, and she really loved it, so it was very kind of her to lend it to me. Thank you, Carol. Then I have one by J.R.R. Tolkien that I haven't read yet, Smith of Wootton Major and the Farmer Giles of Ham. This is illustrated by Pauline Baines. I just love this cover. Yeah, sweet old copy. And all I know about it is that there are sort of scenes reminiscent of the Great British Bake Off in both short stories. Involve, the baking of a celebratory cake. So I'm here for it, and I might do a baking and reading vlog for it. And then I have another cozy mystery, Homicide in Hollow Hollow by Mia P. Manansala. And this follows Lila, who is a baker. She works in her Tita Rosie's restaurant. They're Filipino-American. Yeah, Hollow Hollow is a Filipino, I guess it's our take on the ice cream sundae. It's absolutely delicious. So, yeah, I just went to Uwajimaya and bought some ingredients for it. I also want to go into this one blind, but I love this series. I'm notorious for reading mysteries out of order, but if you want to go in order, the first one is Arsenic and Adobo, and this is the follow-up to that one. So that is it from me for today. What books have you been enjoying this winter? I'd love to hear about them, especially if you've discovered some new favorites. I just love getting book suggestions from you. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. Take good care, everyone. Bye-bye.